Mr. Ganello will read the Open Public Meetings Act.
Good evening, everyone. This meeting is being held in accordance with the schedule of meetings adopted at the organizational meeting held on January 6, 2020. Adequate notice of this regular meeting of the Kenilworth Board of Education has been provided to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, the local source. A copy has been filed with the Kenilworth Borough Clerk, posted in the board office, the Kenilworth Borough Hall, Greeley and Harding Schools, as is provided by the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting time has been changed to 6:30, and the meeting location changed via notice on October 2nd, 2020. This will be an in-person meeting due to a recent announcement by Governor Murphy. Participation will be limited to 25 individuals. The Board of Education therefore estimates that 12 members of the public will be able to participate in person. In an effort to encourage and increase public participation, the meeting will be live streamed, and the public will be able to view live via YouTube live stream. The link will be available at 6:30 p.m. by clicking on the Watch the Meeting Live icon on the Kenilworth District homepage. Kenilworth public comment will be accepted only during the public comment period of the meeting, in person, via email, or at public comments at kenilworthschools.com, or by calling 908-931-9696, extension 2325. Once again, the email is publiccomments@kenilworthschools.com, or the phone number is 908-931-9696, extension 2325.
Please join me in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Ganello, can you please have a roll call? Please. Thank you.
Biner. Here. Braun.
Here.
David. Drogan.
Here.
Haberther.
Here.
Jankowicz.
Here.
Ladati.
Here.
Panici.
Here.
Zimmerman.
Here.
We have quorum.
Mr. Ganello, any monthly correspondence?
We do not have correspondence this month.
Okay, so no motion right now?
Nope.
We're not accepting, okay? And the superintendent's report?
Minutes.
Oh, minutes, I'm sorry. The reading and acceptance of the minutes, please.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mrs. Zimmerman, second by Mr. Ladati. And now up would be, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Yep.
No? Okay.
Okay.
Kyle, whenever you're ready, please, thank you.
Hi, Ron.
Oh, Devin, you're still fake. Oh, there they are!
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Good evening. Since we're all here to serve kids, I didn't want to abandon our practice of celebrating them through the student spotlight portion of our meeting, merely because we are socially distanced. So our student honorees this month are joining us via Zoom. They are Carly, Olivia, and Adriana Rivera, and Devin Singleton. Also joining us are Principal Bobnowski and Mrs. Bedford. A few months ago, I saw in the newspaper an article about a school that secured a vending machine, but instead of dispensing snacks, the machine dispensed books. So I sent the article to Ms. Bedford, mostly because, among other things, she and I like talking about books together. But through her leadership, she connected with the Harding PTO to bring the idea to life here in Harding School. So students will earn gold coins that are redeemable in the machine for a book of their choice. Beyond building some excitement for reading, Mrs. Bedford aimed her sights at building community too. Turns out you can personalize the artwork or the wrap on the machine to reflect your school. To do this, Harding School launched an art contest via social media to solicit entries. And to help generate interest, Carly, Olivia, Adriana, and Devin made this great, engaging, really short video, sort of a commercial, that I'm going to show you now. I'm going to share my screen so you guys at home can see it too. Here it is.
Picture to the art contest. Yeah, this is great.
Hey, Devin, aren't those your friends over there?
Yeah.
Why don't you go say hi to them?
Okay. Hi, Carly, Adriana, and Olivia. Hi, Devin. What are you guys doing? We're calling for the art contest. An art contest? What do you mean? Harding School got a book vending machine. What? A book vending machine? Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, we earn gold coins and get to pick out a book. Will there be books about superheroes? Yeah! Will there be books about princesses? Oh, but of course. Or what about pirates? Anything you imagine. When's the due date? August 21st.
Attention Harding students, submit your artwork by August 21st to be in the running to have your artwork featured on the brand new Harding Elementary book vending machine. Winners will be announced during the first week of school. Good luck.
So as a result of this effort, several art entries were submitted. We posted these winning artists previously on our social media and Friday folders, but here they are again for your visual enjoyment. And what's pretty cool is that you get to see artwork across the grades. So Adriana, second grade, her artwork is here. Kind of has this Game of Thrones feel to it. Lucas, Richter, congratulations, a kindergartner, now first grader. Louis Dunn, and then you see sort of the artwork progress through the grade levels, right? So here's Anjala Shah's sixth grade with a sort of pandemic theme to it, which is I guess a way to memorialize the time in which we live right now. Same thing with Alexa Rivera, Troy Kessler, Juliana Bonacci, JT Holzinger, and Alessia Ayakova. So these pieces of artwork will be on the vending machine when it's complete in a couple weeks. So this is the portion of the meeting where we usually have you guys stand up for a picture, but since we can't do that, I thought I would pose the question to you guys before I ask Ms. Bedford and Mr. Bumnowski to add a few words. Like, what was the best part of the work, or what are you most excited about as part of the vending machine? We're happy to hear a little bit more about how you're feeling, since you are the student actors and artists who put this together.
Oh, they're going to be shy.
Oh, you cannot be shy now, all of you. Come on.
What was your favorite part? What was your favorite part?
When you saw the twins?
When you saw the twins, of course. Those are your buddies. We miss you guys.
We do. Hi, Devin. Hi, Mr.
And who do you want to say thank you to for this?
Mrs. Bedford.
That's right.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate your efforts. Ron, Leslie, do you want to add something?
Yeah, so I have to say, this is one of those interesting things that Mr. Arlington sent to me, and I was like, oh my God, you want money? We'll go find money. I'm good at spending money, so let's see if we can find a way to do this. And then what happened is you put it on your to-do list, and it gets bumped down and bumped down and bumped down, and then we're sitting there in the pandemic, and it's going to be June, and you're thinking about, like, what can we do to get everybody excited to come back to school? And thank goodness for Mrs. Bonacci and Mrs. Cologne at the time, who was our president for PTO, and they have been nothing but kind to me over the years, me coming with all different projects and saying, hey, since we're not going to be having in-person assemblies, and they're always really good about the Cultural Arts Committee and giving money for us to have our assemblies that come in, can we repurpose that money? And it's almost exactly the amount of money that they've allocated for the assemblies that we paid for this. This guy, Ken, at Global Vending Machine, is the nicest man on the face of the planet, always in a good mood. And he said, you could personalize it. So I'm like, yeah, we're gonna personalize it. And the only people that you could think to call in an emergency situation we need a video is the Rivera family, because they are just so awesome. And so I had Devin and Carly and Adriana in my class last year. So I got on the phone with Mrs. Rivera and said, hey, gave them like no notice. Can you guys help me out with this video? And because they're so awesome, and they put that all together, they wrote a script, we turned this around. Because they knew Devin, can you guys hang out and do this video together? And of course, like, you know, Devin went to acting camp this summer, so it was perfect because he played a pirate there, but then Mrs. Rivera wrote a script that had a pirate in it, not knowing the two of them were gonna do that together. And so then we put it out, and we tried to get a representation of as many grade levels as possible with the artwork. And we wanted to be book related and Harding related if it could be, and then kid artwork. So that's why you see a wide range of art. So Lucas Richter, for example, he's in kindergarten. He has Penguin Knot is his book. Louis Dunn is the mixed up chameleon. Adriana's doing the places that you would go. So like all different, you know, some actual books. Some were like encouraging reading. And if you saw the one of Juliana Bonacci, she could art design anything in the world. Hers is going to be the front of the machine, where it says feed your brain, and it's going to be the front of the machine. So it should be here probably, I would say, in the next 6 weeks or so. Believe it or not, that company got a lot of orders for a lot of different vending machines. And so we're working, I just got one of the proofs, but I'm not going to show you the proof because you have to wait for the big unveiling ceremony. We were on Tap Into to get some of our word out about it. And again, I cannot thank these families enough, or my PTO president and vice president and Mrs. Murphy at the time, Mr. Bobnowski, who like, can we do this project? Yep, sure. So we're just very, very excited about it. And we're gonna have a big unveiling ceremony planned. We're working on that now too. So these families are some of Kenilworth's best, and so thankful that I got to hang out with them last year and that they got to be part of this project. So thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Mr. B, would you like to add to that?
Yes, just to echo what Mrs. Bedford said, a big, huge thank you to the Harding PTO. Without this, the funding would not have been possible. And just to think that not only are Devin, Carly, Adriana, and Olivia such fantastic actors, and they did such a great job on that video, but just think about it. Their teacher reached out to them for help, and they didn't even flinch. They ran to her rescue, so I'm very proud of them. I'm proud to call them Harding students. So congratulations on what a wonderful honor of getting the Harding Student Spotlight.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing the final product. Okay. One last thing before I turn the mic over to Mr. Ganella. I want to point your attention to tonight's agenda. In addition to the highlights that I shared in my Friday update to you a few days ago, I wanted to take a moment and recognize Patricia Barton. Pat is retiring after 30 plus years as an aide in our district. If you know Pat, I'm sure you'll also agree she's a friendly face and compassionate member of our school community. So Pat, on behalf of the Personnel Committee and full board, we thank you for your 3 decades of service to the children of Kenilworth. I hope you enjoy a restful and healthy retirement. Congrats, Pat. And this concludes my report. Mr. Ganella. This is it here? Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to review with you the results of the PPA solar project, RFP, discuss the process and results. PPA stands for the solar project that we are going to be talking about. Power Purchasing Agreement is the PPA. So in December 2019, the board awarded a contract to Willdan Energy Solutions as an ESCO associated with the ESIP, which is an Energy Savings Improvement Program. During the project design phase, it became apparent that the energy savings needed to accomplish some of the desired work could not be generated solely from the ESIP alone. A lot of that had to do with the fact that the board has stayed up on many energy conservation measures over the last 25 years or so, such as rebulbing our lights, occupancy sensors in rooms, and energy efficient boilers. As a result, the board decided to reinvestigate the solar market to determine if the savings could be achieved to pursue our original goals under the ESIP. On July 20th this year, the board issued a RFP, or request for proposal, for a power purchasing agreement for the purchase of electricity generated by photovoltaic solar energy systems, basically solar panels. The goal of the Board of Education was to implement a solar energy project that is environmentally responsible, educationally and economically beneficial to the district. This evening's presentation will review the findings and present a recommendation to the Board of Education for consideration this evening. Pursuant to the RFP, a successful respondent will finance, design, permit, construct, install, operate, maintain the system, all in accordance with the terms set forth in the RFP. The successful respondent will also have all ownership rights to the potential tax benefits and transition renewable energy certificates, known as TRECs, generated by the system at each facility, and will monetize the TRECs. The RFP required respondents to perform their own assessment of technical potential and sizing of the systems. The system design, however, could include only rooftop-mounted systems to be developed at David Brearley Middle High School and the Harding Elementary School. Here's an example of the proposed layout that would be on Harding School. You can see each of those blue areas would be represented by a solar panel. And at Brearley, that would be the proposed layout at Brearley. The successful respondent and the Board of Education will enter into a 15-year PPA, power purchasing agreement, under which the board will purchase all electricity produced from the system at a rate per kilowatt hour. Production will be guaranteed by the successful respondent. Pursuant to law, the PPA price must be lower than the delivered cost of power from the local electric utility company. This PPA structure provides the Board of Education with a reduction in its energy expenditures and minimize the uncertainty that may result from price increases in the electricity market during the 15-year term of the PPA, in addition to other environmental and educational benefits that may be realized by the Board of Education. At the conclusion of the PPA term, the Board of Education will have three options. The default option is for the successful respondent or system owner to remove the system at their cost. The Board of Education will have the option to purchase the system at a fair market value, and if the law allows, an option for continued or renewed PPA. These last two options may result in potentially significant long-term savings for the remaining life of the equipment. The Board of Education received 10 proposals. After legal compliance review, 5 were recommended to be rejected, and 1 was voluntarily withdrawn. To evaluate proposals, the Board of Education organized an evaluation team comprised of administration personnel, the supporting legal and energy professionals, collectively known as the evaluation team. The evaluation team developed the RFP and evaluation criteria, administered the procurement process, determined legal completeness and technical compliance of the proposals received, conducted interviews with proposing teams, completed a detailed economic analysis, performed a collective evaluation and proposal ranking by consensus, and drafted this consensus-based evaluation report for consideration by the Board of Education in making an award decision. Evaluation of the proposal was based on point ranking in a variety of categories, including financial benefits, technical design, approach factors, respondent experience, and other factors as defined in the evaluation matrix shown here. The evaluation team performed an evaluation of the proposals from the 4 remaining compliant solution providers on August 26, 2020, in response to the RFP, including Advanced Solar Products, Solar Landscape, Concord Management Services, and HESP Solar. The evaluation team then completed interviews of all 4 remaining qualified respondents. The evaluation team conducted a detailed technical and economic analysis, experience review, formal ranking of the proposals as per the evaluation criteria published in the RFP, and the development of this evaluation report. The evaluation team developed a consensus ranking of each proposal within each evaluation category, leading to an overall score for each proposal between 0 and 100. The proposal with the highest score represents the strongest weighted balance of all factors considered. Based on information contained within the proposals and the additional information collected during the oral interviews, the evaluation team scored the 4 proposals in accordance with the evaluation criteria specified in the RFP. Economic merit, particularly regarding savings through reduced utility bill payments, was evaluated in detail for each proposal. All of the 4 proposals received for the mandatory option 1 provided savings measured as the difference between the solar PPA rate and what it would cost if the purchase to the same from the electrical from the utility company. The strongest ranked proposal in the is the proposal from HESP Solar with 79.73 points, and provides a 15-year net present value savings of approximately $539,047. Based on the evaluation team's conclusion and the points allocated, HESP Solar received the highest score and provides the strongest overall proposal with the most overall benefit and the least overall risk to the Board of Education. The evaluation team recommends awarding the PPA to the highest ranked respondent, HESP Solar. The economic analysis indicate that the solar project will provide substantial savings to the Board of Education compared with continuing the current purchase strategy for electricity over the 15-year term. As stated earlier, if the Board of Education decides to purchase the system at the end of the term, based on the fair market value determination, there will likely be strong economic value for the remaining operating life of the equipment, estimated to be an additional 10 years or possibly more. The relatively predictable price of solar electricity also provides a hedge against future price increases of utility supply. Based on these economic considerations, the evaluation team believes that the implementation of a solar project would be beneficial to the Board of Education. In addition to economics, there will be other benefits to the Board of Education, including a reduced carbon footprint, points in the Sustainable Jersey for Schools program, and a unique asset for student and community engagement. Proposals included educational content, including public displays, outreach efforts, and curriculum content. So what are our next steps? Tonight, we will decide whether we award the contract to HESP energy, or has solar. Then we would begin the contracting process and review the documents with our bond counsel. And finally, once the PPA is signed, a kickoff meeting and due diligence and pre-construction. And then we get into the construction phase of the project. The good news is that this enables us to really pursue our full ESIP as we originally had projected. The board members who were here several years ago know that we tried to do the solar project on our facilities. At that time, we only got one proposal, and it was not financially beneficial. So you might want to ask why, what changed? You might have heard me use that term T-Rex. That's what's changed. That is basically a subsidy that comes from the utility companies through the federal government, that they subsidize the project. Back when we did it the last time, those T-Rex were not nearly as valuable. Those tax credits weren't lucrative enough for companies to really come in and do a good job for us. So that process has changed. Those rates have changed. Those subsidies have changed. So that is what the difference is between the last time we did this, went out for an RFP for solar, and now. So if there are there any questions regarding this? Yes.
Was there any assessment done, like, of the quality of the roof? Like, do we need to do repairs of the roof before we get this stuff installed, or is that included?
Yes, there were two processes that we took. Not only, if you recall, our roofs aren't that old; they're about 10 years old. We did have the engineering did a structural analysis to determine whether the weight of the ballast system can be put onto the roofs. So that's why actually you'll see in some areas that they decided not to put like in the 1923 section, there's nothing there because the weight would not be beneficial to put there. In addition, certain areas are shaded. That's other reasons why you don't put solar on a roof, is because it might be shaded. So there's two components to it. The structural analysis determined where certain areas can go, as well as the shaded areas. Mrs. Drogan?
You said there was an evaluation team. Who was on that?
The evaluation team consisted of myself, our attorney through Lenz, Goldman, and Spitzer, who was our bond counsel, two of our architects, and then an individual who is an energy consultant through Gable Associates, who specializes in solar.
These can get hurt, injured, destroyed, I don't know, falling trees or something. What happens if a storm or something? Are these pretty safe?
Well, they safe from a perspective of them getting damaged, the solar panels getting damaged, or people getting injured?
The solar panels and,
No, there's always, you can't guarantee it, but the way the PPA works is the company is responsible for it. So theoretically, if they're all damaged to the point where they'd have to come and replace them. So they're responsible for giving us the cash flow that they're signing off on. That being said, solar panel technology has come a long way over the years. I'd say every year it's incrementally gets better and better and better, from not only an efficiency standpoint, but from the perspective that you're talking about, a durability standpoint.
It's similar, I was thinking about what Paulette said. If I understand, if the panel is damaged, they would replace it. Let's just say something happens and the roof somehow gets damaged. Is there any way that the insurance company could say that they didn't want to cover it under our policy because we had the panels? Like, is our policy and the panels in sync with?
Our roof is covered under a warranty. Okay. It's still a valid warranty. In order for that warranty to be effective, the solar PPA has to be in conjunction with, I don't know if that's the right legal term, but have to be work in unison with our roofing contractor to maintain that warranty. Anytime we do any work on our roofs, our roof contractor comes in to protect ourselves because of that. warranty that we have on that roof.
Thank you.
Okay?
The way I would ask the question is, are we gonna have in writing from the roofing company confirmation that the solar panels don't void the warranty on the roof?
Yes,
Then you're, yeah.
yes.
Peter Redmond.
Sorry, two questions. We get any grant money from the state for doing this project?
Well, indirectly, I mean, the T-Rex are indirect subsidies, but the ESIP piece is substantially grant funded. So a lot of the ESIP pieces, and this will enable us, we'll be utilizing some of the savings through the solar project to fulfill some of the projects that we wanted to use in the ESIP project, such as the unit ventilators, the boilers, the building management system was one of the key things for us to get a unified building management system between the two buildings. That's really one of the goals that we want to strive for, to maintain a balanced system. So in that respect, when you go through the ESIP process, it's constantly changing. The grants through the clean energy program are constantly changing. So we will be looking at that.
Okay, the evaluation team, we know the company that we're gonna use to do the solar project, did we look into them at all to see how their ratings were from other facilities they used?
Yes,
Or
if
to see if they did projects on time? Is there any issues?
Yes, both SSP and Gables has worked with HESP Energy in the past. And if you can see, that is one of the criterias that you do look at is capabilities and past performance. So they did score high in that respect.
We had a little issue with the gym from our last, they didn't get it done.
Forget, there's a difference. This is a
I know,
this is
I know.
a
I just wanna make
RFP.
sure.
That was a bid.
I just
So
wanna make sure.
that's why we do have that flexibility to, if you could see here, Anthony, proposal team experience, that's where you would rate a company high or low based on that criteria that you were just talking about. So if you had a familiarity with the company, you know they've had successful projects, you would score them higher. Whereas you can see two of the companies there didn't score as high because they didn't have any maybe relevant work within a school district. They might have done a lot of solar projects, but maybe not as much in a school district, which was something that we would be interested in. So that's how you come up with that criteria.
I guess my next question is, we were talking about last time we were doing this project of if we're generating more energy than we're using, do we get any money back for that if that solar company, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
get used,
yeah.
so we're generating more, like some of you use 80%, that 20%, do we get any, is that included in that basically average of $36,000?
Yeah, well,
a year
you
savings?
gotta look at the solar capacity here. You can see here, where is it totaled someplace? Is it there? Is it there? Yeah, you can see here the two combined of the HESP one, there's roughly 700 something kilowatts hours there. That total doesn't exceed what we would typically use, so it would be very unusual for us to be paying back. Under the samples that we were talking about, those were the companies that wanted to come in and put solar panels all over the place, including the parking lots. If you recall, the last proposal had them, they wanted to, for them to make it financially feasible, they wanted to put the parking lot canopies out there, and we did not like that.
Thank you.
Okay? Yes, Bob?
Any upfront costs for us? Any upfront costs for us?
No.
No, okay, because I
In
didn't.
fact, the costs that we're putting out for right now, for bond counsel or for our architect's fees that we've been putting out will be reimbursed by the PPA. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
The last item I have in section 4 is the HIV report for the month. I left the packet at your spot on the dais. As you can see from September, there were no cases in Harding. In Brearley, there was one report that was investigated but was ultimately found, or was ultimately unfounded, the details of which are outlined for you there in the first landscape sheet. And then attached thereafter is the enrollment report and the suspension report for September.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Arlington?
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Arlington, Mr. Ganella. Before we do report of committees, Mr. Ganella, we were going to discuss the modifying the board meeting times and locations for the remainder of 2020.
Yes. So there has been some recent clarification by the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs regarding emergency regulations and remote public meetings held during the declared emergency. And one of the more critical pieces, I think, that came across when I was reading the cases regarding it, or the directive regarding it, was the necessity for us to really give the public ample notice when our meetings are taking place. So right now, we usually give our public almost a year's notice by having our organizational meeting, when our regular meetings are, the time, the place, and the agenda that is detailed. So since COVID has taken place, we've been deviating that on a month-by-month basis, depending on the needs of basically COVID. So back in March and April, we were meeting at 5:30 via Zoom. I think in June, we might have done the same, but then over the summer, we started to move towards an in-person meeting and starting it at 6:30. So at least for the remainder of this school year, I think we should memorialize the time and format that we will be using, provided that there aren't any changes to the pandemic, and move forward. So a couple of weeks ago, I said survey to the board whether the 6:30 meeting time was good for them or bad for them. So the majority of the board did think that 6:30 was good. Several board members, it was difficult for their work commitments now that they're going back to work. So I think you need to have a discussion tonight, whether it's a 6:30, 7:30, or somewhere in between type of discussion that we could have this evening. Also, one of the disadvantages of starting the meeting at 6:30, it doesn't allow us to have the time for those committee meetings that we traditionally have, whether it be a curriculum or instruction committee, or a finance and facility committee meeting to have, or a personnel committee meeting prior to the regular board meeting. For example, tonight, we're having our finance committee meeting after the regular board meeting. Which, depending on the month, could be difficult with the time allotment. So I'll just leave it up to you guys to discuss it and what your thoughts are on how we want to do the November and December board meetings.
Michelle?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a simple compromise of 7. That gives us an hour before to have any type of meeting. For the people that need 7:30, if that's still not good enough, then I understand that also. But I think a compromise at 7 gives us another half hour to get here. It also gives us the hour before the meeting to have any committee meetings.
What does everybody think?
It's my thought.
Is that okay, or?
I got paid with that.
You guys okay?
Anytime, I think Nancy has something.
Nancy,
but I'm
yes,
okay.
sorry.
Yeah, my personal opinion is that our board meetings have been set at 7:30 generally for quite some time. We did roll to 7 for a time period in between at the behest of some board members, and we found that to be less than workable for both committee meetings prior, as mentioned, and for board members who have to get home from work and get to a board meeting, and for the public attendance. You may have people who also, getting home from work, have some family obligations to deal with, and then need some time to get here for a meeting. I mean, tonight we have no one.
Yeah.
Is it because of the time? Is it because people weren't interested in coming? We don't know. But with our established 7:30 meeting time, we usually had some people present. And I think that the 6:30 definitely is very difficult. 7 o'clock we've tried before and it didn't work as well. 7:30 has kind of been the time that worked best for the board as a whole over the years.
Okay. Do you think, Vincent, we should make a motion and then vote? Is that the easiest way? Or does everybody, you know, I know everybody, some said yes, no.
Well, I'd like to hear from the people, sorry, the people the people that have the issue with the 7:30 are getting here, that want the 7:30, that suggested the 7:30 say the same, we should hear from, right? I know Nancy spoke up. I know that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm flexible and fine with whatever, so I don't, whatever, everybody.
Well, let's just go around the days.
It's only 2 more months, correct?
No.
Yeah, well,
Let's just start, I'll start, let's go right around
Well,
the table.
let's hear,
I mean,
let's,
to me-
Vince, what's your
To me,
prediction on,
the earlier the better.
Okay.
I mean, I'd rather,
Vince?
I'd rather, as Anthony said,
Is
if you
this
want to
gonna
have
go to the end
an
of the
hour
year or
committee meeting
forever?
before, then to
Just
me,
till
have
December.
the meeting
Vote
at
again.
7 o'clock and 6 o'clock for me is fine. But just general rule for me, the earlier the better.
Okay, how about Mrs. Braun, Mr. Overwood?
I'm going with 7 as a compromise.
Okay. You prefer
Thanks,
7?
Mrs. Braun.
I appreciate the 7:30 meeting times. You know, I do have to travel. I think making them at 7 and then holding committee meetings at 6 still puts some people who may have difficulty at getting here at 6:30 with trouble of getting here for 6 o'clock for a committee meeting. So I would prefer 7:30, but that's, you know.
And just a side word, if I'm on a committee, I don't really care if we meet before or after the meeting.
Well, I would like to say about that I feel it's important for people to meet before if they need to, only because then they can take that information and relay it to the people at the meeting that night. Otherwise, you might have to wait for some time. So that's the only thing I'll have to say about that.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm of the preference to keep it at 7:30 for both personal reasons and the reasons that Mrs. Braun and Mrs. Zimmerman pointed out.
Okay. Mr. Jankowicz?
Anytime is fine with me.
Yeah, I'm
not
fine
gonna
with
have any
anything as
community
well.
issues.
And then, so,
7:30 is fine, 7's fine, 6:30 is fine.
and then Mr. Ladati, you have a preference?
Well, you know, I'm at 7 because I just thought we would compromise, but if it's, you know, I think we need to be together as a board, and if there's going to be an issue for Ryan and Janine to get here for either the committee meetings and the 7:30 meeting or whatever, then, you know, Ryan's a big part of several committees, and if he can't get here by 6 o'clock, it defeats the whole purpose.
Well, I'd like to point out that I can do earlier now, but if and when I do return to the office, 6 is not going to work. And
Can we-
7 might even still be, or 6:30 might not work,
You know,
7
so,
might be a
I mean,
challenge.
I think we got to make sure that everybody's here. And listen, I would prefer an earlier meeting, but I understand that. When I used to travel all the time, it was difficult for me to get off an airplane and run here. So I understand that. So I'm okay with the 7:30, staying at 7:32, unless you just want to do the 7 until the end of the year, and then revisit this in January or for the 7:30 meetings if this COVID thing relaxes.
Well, I mean, if we're in the interest of getting everybody here, and then we're going to return to 7:30 once COVID ends, maybe we should just be consistent, maybe just start with the 7:30 and then just keep it, you know, and since we don't have any conflicts and we're kind of okay with it, we don't want to make it difficult for everybody else. So as long as there's, should we make a motion and vote?
Well, we
to
don't
keep
really
it?
have to. I mean,
Okay.
right now, our schedule, according to our schedule of meetings, says 7:30.
Yeah.
So if the consensus is to keep it at 7:30, we don't have to do anything. Because of the,
So
you know,
if we just, yeah, we want to make it convenient for everybody, so I mean, you know, maybe, and then, like we said, if going forward, we usually have it at 7:30, and once things are quote-unquote normal, we'll go back to 7:30. So if that's okay with everybody, we can just start in November or December with 7:30 and keep it consistent?
keep going
That's
7:30.
what works with
Yep.
everybody?
Yeah, I'm
Sounds
fine with-
7:30
I'm
will
fine
be
with
the
that,
meeting
yeah.
time for November and December 2020, and then, you know, obviously, if there's no COVID changes or anything, is
Right.
that?
Caveat would be COVID change, and then we go from there.
The first-
Okay?
And then the first meeting of January also for reorg would still. fall
7:30.
into 7:30.
7:30,
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, whatever.
That's actually advertised in the Yeah.
Because, you know, the other factor with this is that, I mean, I don't really want to stay. If we need to have committee meetings, we're not getting out here till 10 o'clock at night, then the committee meetings are going at, later than that if we have it too early.
Yeah, and to Janine's point, the presentation that I gave tonight on the solar would have been part of a finance committee meeting, and the finance committee would have reported that out to the.
Correct.
To the full board.
Okay, good.
Okay,
We're all set.
perfect, so 7:30 for the remainder of November, December 2020. All right, thank you, everybody. So now we will do a report of committees. First up, Finance and Facilities, Mr. Ladati.
Hi, good evening, everyone. As we were just speaking about, the committee will, has quite a large agenda for this evening's meeting that will take place after this formal board meeting. In the meeting tonight, we plan to discuss several topics, including.
Greg, I mean, I can't hear you.
Okay.
So we have to do something with this. I don't see over there. You've got everything over there, and I can't.
Is that microphone working there? It's working.
Thank you.
Never been accused of being quiet. Hi, good evening, everybody, again. And as I mentioned, we spoke about this a few minutes ago, but the committee will be meeting tonight. The agenda is quite long. We're going to be discussing several topics, including the 21-22 budget, timelines in that process, future facility projects and needs, long-range planning, COVID-related issues, and health benefits. So that'll be on tonight's agenda. Plus, I think we're going to kick around or discuss the solar also again. As for resolutions, 1 through 4 are the monthly standard items and contain the superintendent's report, which is just presented, along with billings, financials, and line item transfers. I found each to be in order to the best of my ability. I'm only going to touch on a few of the remaining resolutions. Number 6 is the mission statement, vision, and goals. Really, there's no change in any of those. Mr. Ganella did a great presentation of the solar project, which is number 10. Number 12 is the use of the Harding School parking lot for the town's Halloween festivities. 14 is a telecommunication co-op, which again gives us some cost savings in that area. Number 14 is, getting to number 14 is the COVID, current COVID expenses. From August 31st to September 30th, we spent approximately $177,000. 133 of that was for student clinical support. As the finance chair, I recommend approval of all 14 resolutions. And I'll take questions if anyone has one.
Resolution 4, the transfer of money. Usually we say it's under $5,000, so there's no explanation.
Yes.
But it's not saying that now, so obviously it might be more than.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't say that, but I reviewed it. There were no line item transfers that were above the $5,000 cap. I reviewed it, and I also rechecked with Vince.
They usually say here, that's why I thought maybe it was for more. I just wanted to know where.
No, there were none this time.
Thank you.
Thank you. No questions? Thank you, Mr. Ladati. Next up is Personnel and Management, Mr. Haberthor.
Thank you very much. There's 10 resolutions tonight. Resolution 15 is accepts the resignation or retirement of a Brearley aide. Number 16 approves a school psychology intern from Rutgers University. Number 17 approves a hire of a lead mechanic for the remainder of the school year. Number 18 is approves administrator coaching for the 2020-21 school year. Number 19 approves a leave of a replacement teacher for health and physical education. Number 20 approves the revised maternity leave for a teacher. And number 21 approves, provides additional compensatory educational services for students who are being provided full remote virtual instructional services. Number 22 is the approval of the ESEA after-school enrichment program staff. Number 23 is the approval for personnel for, approves personnel for extracurricular stipend positions. And number 24 is the approval of home instruction services. And lastly, number 25 is the approval of Mr. Arlington's merit goals from the 2019-2020 school year. And I don't know if anyone's interested, but it is certifies the school as a future-ready school district for technology and support services.
Anybody have any questions or concerns for Mr. Haberthurst?
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Mrs. Zimmerman with curriculum and instruction.
Good evening, just a few. Resolution number 26 approves the Harding and Brearley Student Parent Handbook for the 2020-2021 school year. Resolution number 27 approves the Union County College Bridge Agreement that we have. Number 28 is for the district assessment programs for 2020 to 2021 school year. 29 is the 2020-21 school year program of studies. Resolution 30 is for the district nurses services plan for the 2020-21 school year. Resolution 31 is the assistive technology evaluations for 2020-2021. And last but not least, Resolution 32 is accepting the HIB report of August 2020 that was reviewed during the September board meeting.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns for Mrs. Zimmerman? Okay, thank you. Okay, next is policy, Mrs. Vaughn.
Okay, for policy, we have two resolutions. Resolution 33 is first reading of two policies, P3421.13, postnatal accommodations, and P4421.13. This basically states that the New Jersey Department of Education requires we report the lactation-related policies that we have implemented. The new law only requires the DOE to report their findings to the governor and legislature and does not require or mandate New Jersey school districts to adopt the lactation policy. Additionally, the Fair Labor Standards Act states employers with 50 or more employees shall make accommodations for nursing mothers. The lactation space must be private, functional, and available when needed by a nursing mother. These policy guides are recommended. Then we've got Resolution 34, revisions to adopt Policy 7243, supervision of construction. It basically states that the New Jersey Department of Education, they published a memorandum titled Contractor Employees Procedure for Criminal History Record Checks, and it addresses the criminal history record checks required for construction contractors' employees serving in a position which involves regular contact with students. And then you've got Policy and Regulation 5111, eligibility of resident, non-resident students. It's mandatory and it's revised. States that school districts may not condition student enrollment on the fact that the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission does not have the name or address of the parent on file. It additionally states that the policy will outline that we will permit admittance of a J1 visa student in accordance with Federal Regulation 8 CFR 214.3. And it's a new provision has been added for both the F1 and J1 visa student provision, indicating continued attendance in the school district is conditioned upon a satisfactory attendance and disciplinary record. The policy guide and regulation guide are mandated. And that's all.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions or concerns for Mrs. Braun? Okay, having none, we will move on. Is there any old business to be discussed? Any new business?
I have a question.
Sure.
Yesterday, Governor Murphy advised that indoor sports can resume, and I was wondering if we're going to be able to allow the various community youth sports organizations to start using our facilities again, with the assumption, of course, that they are going to follow the guidelines proposed by Governor Murphy. So I'm just curious.
That's something that is slated for conversation this week as a result of that announcement yesterday.
Okay, thank you.
So I can update you maybe Friday.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Ganell, do you want to read the opening to the meeting, or should I do it?
Friday.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, let's see if there's a motion to do it. So.
I'll make a motion to open to the public.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, public comments will now be accepted. The Board of Education sets the limit for the public to speak at the Board of Education to 5 minutes per person unless prior permission has been granted by the Board of Education for extended time pursuant to Board of Education Policy 0167. Members of the public wishing to make a comment can do so by either emailing the board at publiccomments@kenilworthschools.com or by calling the Board of Education meeting room at 908-931-9696, extension 2325. Comments will be taken in the following order: phone calls, in-person comments, and then email comments. For the record, please include your name and address in all comment requests. So we will wait about a minute to see if anyone calls in.
Vince, while we're waiting, I'm sorry, I didn't say this under new business, but I just wanted to recognize the teachers in the back-to-school night. My wife and I had the opportunity to watch some of the teachers do their live feeds. I thought it was very well put together. It's very informative, very interactive, and I'd just like to recognize the teachers and whoever else was involved in that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Only on Nancy, huh? Okay. There's a significant delay, so we will, we're only on Nancy's, wow,
She just got to the podium.
wow. So we still need to do Janine.
Yes.
Unless you see something different about this.
No?
I'm on school dial-up.
Think it's good? Okay. All right, well, I'll keep the phone on since it's not ringing off the hook like it did in August, just in case someone does. No members of the public are present, so no public, in-person public comments. We do have one email presented to us that came in earlier this evening. It's from Elisa Fabrizio. I don't believe the asynchronous synchronous model is working. This format isn't fair for the kids, parents, or teachers. Asynchronous work isn't real learning. It's busy work that is making everyone resentful of school. While I appreciate that you have allowed the kids to come to school in person, maybe you should consider condensing the schedule so the kids can see every teacher on a daily basis, and extending the day by 40 minutes. See example below. Or if you feel that it is better to only meet with 4 teachers a day, then the students could be responsible for the work in the classes that they haven't had that day. So example is 8 to 8:45, period 1, 8:40 to 9:20, period 2, 9:20 to 10, period 3, 10 to 10:40, period 4, 10:40 to 11:20, period 5, 11:20 to 12 o'clock would be period 6, and then 12 to 12:40 would period 7. It continues by saying PE can be asynchronous since they are just keeping an activity log anyway. Thank you for your consideration on this matter, Lisa Fabrizio and Danielle Bacofin. Okay, I will pass that information on to the, assuming that's high school?
Yeah, so we're constantly looking at the schedule, trying to reflect and figure out what works and what doesn't. So either I or Mr. Davies will get back to those moms to better understand their concerns and hear their ideas. Happy to do that.
Okay. Okay. Doesn't sound like anyone's calling in, so motion call.
Okay. I'm asking for a motion, please, to close the meeting to the public.
A motion to close it?
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Ganella, will you conduct a roll call of resolutions, please?
Yes, I will. Okay, first up, roll call on resolutions. First set are finance and facility resolutions, and COVID resolutions, 1 through 14. Mr. Ladati?
Yes, I recommend, or put up for adoption, the resolutions 1 through 14 for facilities and finance.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Okay, Mr. Habefer. Okay, motion has been made by Mr. Ladati, second by Mr. Habefer. This is for resolutions 1 through 14. Are there any exclusions or exceptions? No? Okay, this is for all 14 resolutions. Mr. Biner?
Yes.
Braun?
Yes.
Drogan?
Yes.
Habefer?
Yes.
Jankowicz?
Yes.
Ladati?
Yes.
Panici?
Yes.
Zimmerman? Motion's carried. This is for personnel and management resolutions, 15 through 25 on the agenda. Mr. Habefer?
Yeah, I'd like to make a move, I'd like to move resolutions 15 to 20 through 25 to be voted on.
Second? Mrs. Drogan, thank you. Motion's made by Mr. Habefer, second by Mrs. Drogan. This is resolutions, personnel resolutions 15 through 25 on the agenda. Are there any that need to be voted on separately? No? Okay, moving along, this is 15 through 25. Biner?
Yes.
Braun?
Yes.
Drogan?
Yes.
Habefer?
Yes.
Jankowicz?
Yes.
Ladati?
Yes.
Panici?
Yes.
Zimmerman? Motion's carried unanimously. Okay, curriculum instruction, Mrs. Zimmerman?
Yeah, I'd like to move resolutions number 26 through 32 for adoption.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Biner? Okay, motion was made by Mrs. Zimmerman, second by Mr. Biner. Resolutions 26 through 32 be moved. Are there any that need to be voted on separately? No? Okay. 26 through 32, Mr. Biner?
Yes.
Braun?
Yes.
Drogan?
Yes.
Habefer?
Yes.
Jankowicz?
Yes.
Ladati?
Yes.
Panici?
Yes.
Zimmerman? Motion carries unanimously. Policy resolutions 33 through 34, Mrs. Braun?
I'd like to move resolutions 33 and 34 to be voted upon.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Drogan? Motion was made by Mrs. Braun, seconded by Mrs. Drogan. Resolutions, policy resolutions 33 through 34 on the agenda. Are there any that need to be voted on separately? No? Okay. This is for resolutions number 33 and 34 on the agenda. Mr. Biner?
Yes.
Ms. Braun?
Yes.
Drogan?
Yes.
Habefer?
Yes.
Jankowicz?
Yes.
Ladati?
Yes.
Panici?
Yes.
Zimmerman? Motion's carried.
Do you need to go into closed session?
We do not need to go into closed session. I would just like to comment, if you saw last week's correspondence, confidential correspondence, not that confidential, but we are trying to get a date with the NJEA to commence negotiations for the 21-22 school year. So it should be starting up in sometime soon. So we're trying to get some dates. Okay?
So for no closed session, I ask somebody to please make a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second? Thank you. Second? Okay. Thank you. Motion meeting adjourned. Thank you.
All in favor? Oh, yeah, all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed?
We'd be staying here in perpetuity, right?